Okay, I don't know if this is working, but it's my first video, everyone. So, I am Elizabeth Mueller. I am also known as TPP Hates Your Freedom, TISA Hates Your Freedom, NAFTA Hates You. I'm one of the admins for Net Neutrality Defenders and a whole bunch of other groups. I don't know where to begin. There's so much going on in the news, and I'm just making this video off the top of my head. I'm a horrible public speaker. I'm probably going to ramble, and I really don't know how to condense the last, God, I don't know what it's been, it's been like 7 or 8 years of activism, plus eventually being targeted for my activism that I've been experiencing, and to condense that all into a short video that everyone will want to watch is a real challenge, especially when you're not a seasoned public speaker. So let me just start by saying I ran a group to Stop TPP, and it ended up having about 15,000 people. A lot of famous people ended up joining. I was published in the Huffington Post. Politicians were on my page, but it was kind of a little underground phenomenon because I used a Facebook event, and I wasn't like a nonprofit. I wasn't someone that started out even really thinking that I would get more than like 50 people on my event, and it grew to be about 15,000 people, maybe in total, divided between different pages, because at different times Facebook would change their algorithms and shut down one of my pages, and I'd have to start another one. So I didn't really think about like doing marketing or anything, so I like changed the names of my pages, which was probably pretty stupid, but I used my real name and all that. So I mean, it wasn't like a top secret thing that I did. And I was much more successful than I ever anticipated. And hey, USA, we stopped TPP. I am so proud of you, Stop TPP Call Team. Shout out to my team members. If you're watching this, you've been following me for years. I love all of you. And, you know, I kind of stayed, I don't know, just, I didn't really want like my picture out there or anything like that, because I thought that would protect me somehow, because I knew that we were going up against like the richest transnational corporations on the planet. But I guess I really wasn't that educated about the Utah data center, even though I was like posting some articles about it, and I didn't really understand to what degree you could still be tracked, so whatever. Anyway, I've learned the hard way. So what can I tell you? Since then, or even as like all of that was going on, I didn't really tell my team members in the beginning, but I started having a lot of very weird experiences. I actually had a house on the West Coast, and I had a house on the East Coast. I'm originally from the East Coast, which you can probably tell by my, let's just say, colorful vocabulary. You know, I'm like a New York, New Jersey girl. Okay, proud of it. And so I had a house on the West Coast, and I grew up in, you know, the New York area. And so what was I going to say about that? I was going to say that I started on 2 different coasts having serious harassment. I had people showing up, taking my picture in public, both on the West Coast and on the East Coast. I started having car problems, lots of interesting car problems. In fact, at one point I had 4 flat tires in 4 consecutive weeks, in 4 different rental cars on 2 different coasts documented. Right after I had my picture coincidentally taken right outside of my house when I was emptying my garbage, actually, and I confronted the guy with a neighbor, or like a guy that works at the print shop, or used to work at the print shop where I used to live, next to where I used to live, and we got the guy's picture, and I just thought he was like a creeper. I thought he was just some random guy that was like, you know, checking out maybe like the kids at the park or something, you know, like I just thought he was a weirdo. And I was like, hey buddy, you like to take pictures? Well, I got your picture. Like, what are you doing? And, you know, I didn't think about this, like what, you know, hey, you're in activism, now you've got a weird guy taking your picture. I didn't think it was specific to me. And over the course of numerous years, a lot of really, really, really awful things happened to me. This has to be a short video. I'm going to really talk more at length about it, but I want to put my face out there, and I want to acknowledge my team, and I want to acknowledge all of the other people that are being targeted right now, who are journalists, whistleblowers, and activists. I want to tell you you're not alone, and I want to tell you that I'm going to tell my story, and I'm going to step forward, and I don't care what it takes. If we have to go in front of Congress and demand an accounting of private security companies that are being funded by our government tax money, then I will do it. And if anything happens to me, then you can know damn well it was murder, because I don't intend on killing myself. And I don't intend on, I'm in really great health, like, surprisingly. And I don't really do any high risk at things. I've never been a big drinker. I've never done drugs. I'm not like somebody that even has that exciting of a life, to be honest with you. I work every day and I do my stuff online. And I've been told I have the interests of kind of like somebody who's, I don't know, somebody who's really like into antiques and just kind of sitting around and like doing kind of, I don't know, doing a lot of baking and boring stuff. Like, I'm not, like, the fact that I'm being stalked by a private security company is pretty shocking and pretty appalling and pretty shameful, actually. And we are going to expose these companies, and I'm looking forward to it. So, what else can I tell you that these companies did to me? Okay, let's go through a list, and then I'll get more in depth later videos. I just want to get this out there before like I have another like fucking weird, inexplicable, sorry, profanity alert like every time I open my mouth, okay? Before I have another like break-in, like it's like break-in city over here. Okay, let's just say I had like at least 3 break-ins like in my garage out in Portland, and I had multiple break-ins like somewhere between like 6 to 8. I don't even know. These are the ones I know about. Last January, I'm on the East Coast, of like either they actually got in physically into my garage, or they almost got into my house. And God only knows what they were going to do when they got into the house, because it was in the middle of the night. And I screamed and I told them I would kill them if they came through the front door. And they ran off, and I called 911, and they still had the nerve to come back multiple times and not steal anything, but to try to terrorize me. So what can I tell you? There were flat tires, brake lines like dripping. There were, on both coasts, there were multiple break-ins in both houses. There were people taking my picture on both coasts. There were people showing up in my life and either glomming onto me and wanting to desperately date me and find out my whole entire life and get really close to me, or be my bestest friend in the whole world, or get the keys to my house when I'm out of town. And then suddenly horrible things would happen and these people would disappear. It was the most amazing thing ever. It was such a coincidence. And I had situations where there was vandalism. I had situations where, I mean, they literally broke into my basement. I had a triplex, like this cute little Victorian, like I'll show you pictures of it one day. It's really cute. It has like little vintage and antiques and all my cute little stuff. Very colorful. And people used to come in and be like, oh my God, who staged your house? I'm like, no one staged my house. I have good taste, thank you very much. But anyway, so people used to, my place is just like the cutest little place ever, at least in my opinion. And maybe some, other people thought so too. And I was away, and somebody, I left my keys with this woman that I trusted from a vintage store, and she's an older woman, and all these crazy things happened where suddenly my tenant downstairs is moving out in the middle of the night. The neighbor girls that are supposed to also be overseeing what's going on at the house are telling me that he got a letter in the mail. He's telling them, supposedly, according to them, he's telling them that he got a letter in the mail that said, I evicted him. Well, I never did this. He had been a tenant for over a year, and I thought he was a really nice guy. In fact, he used to always ask me out on dates and stuff, and I'd be like, no, I'm like twice your age, and you're like, my tenant, and you're a nice kid, but like, no. And so we had like no animosity, like nothing. I had extended his lease month to month. We were like in great terms. He said that he got a letter in the mail, said I evicted him, and he was moving out in the middle of the night. I never saw him again, and shortly thereafter, The woman that also had the keys to my house, she disappeared too. I never got to the bottom of what happened to her. And then the girls next door, who I had known for years, suddenly erupted and had some ridiculous fight with me over how they were like these young girls, and I think they made me feel as though I was sort of like a mother figure to them. And they were really angry at me because I wasn't coming back for a Halloween celebration. Like, I couldn't get away from the East Coast. I was taking care of my father, actually, that was very sick, and there were a lot of things going on. So, I wasn't doing mean to them, and I had a very good reason not to be there. But they invented sort of this big drama, and it became like, well, we never speak to you ever again. Oh my God, click. And was like, what the hell is going on, people? Like, okay, let's see. My tenant moves out in the middle of the night. The girls next door are gone. The woman with my keys are gone. I come back, and this is the part where I shouldn't probably be as cheerful as I am, but I'm nervous in front of the camera, so I'm like all smiley. But they destroyed my apartment in the basement. Like, I don't know, when I say they, like, probably somebody who had some connections to a private security group, I'm gonna guess. But anyway, my house had been broken into. They came in through the window. They let every single animal you could possibly imagine into my house. They'd been there for a while. They had set up shop. Like, every single light fixture was like ripped apart, or they tried to rip it apart. They tried to break pipes. They threw barbecue sauce all over the kitchen. They threw it in the oven, which is not self-cleaning, which was a real pain in the ass. They put it in the refrigerator. They ruined the rugs. They spray painted the walls. They kicked in the doors, and I'm probably even forgetting some massive amounts of damage that they did. Basically, anything that they could do, they did. And it was a real nightmare, but I didn't really have time to deal with it because, like, my father actually was very sick. I had to get back home. I had to, like, quickly just do as much work as I could, like, renovate it as much as I could, bring in the experts to do, like, the real technical stuff, and get the hell out and get it, try to get it rented again if I could. And so, anyway, okay, so if I start telling, like, all the individual stories, this is going to be like a 50-hour tape, but I just want you to understand that these things were happening on a regular basis, and they did very, very serious destruction. My phone lines were cut in the back. At different other instances, people were breaking into my garage. Now, at the time, I didn't think, hey, I'm being targeted by a private security group, probably funded with my own tax money. I didn't think that at all. I thought, wow, I just thought this was a nicer neighborhood than that. And what the hell, well, okay, I guess they're just, I guess they thought the house needed to be destroyed. I don't know. I didn't know what I thought. I just thought, like, these people are assholes. So I went back home, and then we kept getting invited to these government events. My grandfather was a monuments man, and he worked under FDR, and he was one of the first people to start actually the first presidential library, and did other very important things under FDR, and worked in the White House. So he was being honored, supposedly, and we got invited down to an event. My mother and I, who's elderly, we both, she's older, she very rarely leaves her house, so we made a big trip down to DC. We go down there, and we come back, and our whole house has been destroyed. Coincidentally, a hose on the top floor in the center of our house in a bathroom came loose behind a toilet and just sprayed everywhere for days and days and days like a fire hydrant, and just destroyed all the interior walls, basically. Because what it did is it went into the whole infrastructure, and it went through, like, all the water damage went into the floorboards, warped them, went into all the drywall, ruined the drywall. It was like Amityville when we came home. The lights were going zzz, 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 and, like, going on and off, and I could just see water, like, spraying in the bathroom, and I thought, like, somebody was up there taking a shower. I was like, why is there some Norman Bates, like, taking a shower upstairs? What's going on? And then I didn't want to go in. My mom was like, let me go into the house. Let me see. And I'm like, no, don't go in the house. We could get electrocuted. Do not go in the house. And there's, like, a big scene. It was awful. And then I look into the living room, and they're like, the ceiling is down. And I'm like, did, like, a plane hit our house? Like, what happened? Like, I was just trying to figure it out. And finally, it turns out it's just a little hose that came behind a toilet, just unscrewed itself magically while we were gone. and destroyed the whole entire infrastructure of the house. We had to take out everything, all the cabinetry, all the bathrooms, everything was just stripped down to the studs, all the flooring, everything. We were able to save the foundation, the utilities, and the outer shell, and on the outside of the house, you could never even tell practically anything was going on. But interiorly, whole house, just, practically. So, was destroyed. So, then all these other really interesting things happened where we had a government insurance company, and the government insurance company started dragging out the claim and basically bankrupting my mother, which I'll get into in another day. But and I started noticing all this like government harassment, like the old debt from before my father had passed away, actually right before this flood had happened, and old IRS debt is being dug up on us. Both my mother and I are getting jury duty repeatedly. My mail is going missing. I had another person managing my house now out on the West Coast, and like he'd send me all my mail and it like wouldn't get there. And so I'm trying to get him to like, make sure that he, excuse me, that he, tracks it. And sometimes the mail shows up like months later and, or not at all. Our packages are getting swiped. It's happening on both coasts because I'm kind of going back and forth, like checking on things. And then other things happen where I'm having this car damage. And like I said, I'm having these people like taking my picture. And I, the whole time I'm like, like in my mind, I'm like, I've read about COINTELPRO, but like that was a long time ago, and I'm not like a major organizer. I didn't think of myself as a major organizer. I realize now that our Stop TPP call team like actually kicks some ass, and we did a really great job, and I'm so proud of all of you. But I mean, I really didn't even think, okay, so what do we do with our Stop TPP call team? We called Congress every day. We did legal activities. We wrote letters to the editor. We did Twitter storms. We, reported about demonstrations. We did very like everyday, common, straightforward, vanilla activism. Maybe we did it very meticulously. And I also, I did tag all the Anons and all the tech people and people I thought would be would be interested in all of this, especially with, the SOPA provision that had been like slipped into TPP and would be interested in that. So, I definitely had a tech community presence, and I did a lot of flyering, and I'm in a very prestigious town with a prestigious university. So I was, probably hitting people that were really, I actually did. I went to university, and then the guy's like, well, I'm going to Congress tomorrow and I'll talk about this. I was like, oh, thank you very much. So, we did a lot of work. We were workhorses, and I don't even know what a lot of my other team members did. And I know that we were getting our word out there because right before the fast track vote, I was like yelling to my team, like, tell them no taxation, no representation about the ISDS tribunal. And then we were, I don't know, like watching the vote, and then they had a live C-SPAN thing, and then the person was like, caller, you're on the air, and the person's like, no taxation without representation. So like we were communicating, and we were getting our message out. We were educating the public, and you know what, that's not illegal, and you know what, that's what journalists are supposed to do. And you know what, I wasn't even trying to be a journalist, but I was apparently doing a better job than the fucking New York Times, I'll tell you that much. There's another little funny story I'll tell you about Jonathan Weissman of the New York Times at a later date. But anyway, oh fuck it, I'll tell you now. So I was calling Jonathan Weissman, who was reporting about trade deals, and he wasn't doing a very good job, and I wasn't really happy with it. So I somehow called up and then pretended I had like a breaking story and got them down to the mailroom. And then I said, oh, I was just talking to Jonathan Weissman. Can you patch me through? And they're like, sure. So they put me through. I'm like, Jonathan Weissman, why are you not talking about TPP? Because this is when we had a media blackout and nobody's talking about it. And I'm like, this is just front page news. Why are you not talking about this? And he was playing dumb. And this is like before the text had been, published, because they were trying to keep it secret. And even Congress was like forbidden to like tell anybody, exactly what was in it. So I said to him, look, the ISDS tribunal, there's never an appropriate time for that. And he's like, well, we haven't seen the documents. We'll wait till the text comes out. Well, of course, you're waiting for the text to come out right before the vote. And then there's no time to like organize a group if you wait till then to react. So sorry, I'm all over the place, and I'm kind of assuming that a lot of people have like background of what TPP is and what our fight was. I'm sort of talking right now specifically, mainly to maybe my Stop TPP call team group, and then to some people that have been sort of following my page as I go along. I'm sure I'm kind of like, if you have no background about this stuff, maybe you're a little lost, but I just got to get this video out, really, and it's more to support the other people that are being attacked by private security groups right now, okay? So, but just getting back to Jonathan Weissman, so I shamed him, and I was just like, I even friended him on Facebook for a while. I was kind of trolling him a little and just being like, Jonathan Weissman, what about today? Why did you put it on today? So he was ignoring it, but he did say to me before, he said, I'll put it in the New York Times, if I'll talk about ISDS, as soon as I get the documents about it. Well, time passed, and I was getting ready to go over to his page and troll him again, and then just before I did, I don't even know where I found it, but I was like, oh my god, Jonathan Weissman is talking about ISDS. Oh yeah, I forgot the part where I put on my pages for everyone to call him, and I put Jonathan Weissman's telephone number. So anyway, so I told my group like how Jonathan Weissman wasn't gonna like write about TPP and ISDS unless like he had the proof. Well, this particular day, wouldn't you know it, somebody leaked the ISDS text to the New York Times, and god damn it, Jonathan Weissman fucking printed that shit, I can't even believe it. So of course he still had to do it in his New York Timesy way, which is to act like, oh, it's not really that big a deal that transnational corporations are trying to purchase countries and use these phony offshore tribunals, which are fake courts, essentially, where no citizens have any say whatsoever, and they try to invent lawsuits and manufacture debt for, like, severe debt for countries to pay if they don't step in line and start taking away any kind of regulations that, stop corporations from making their profits at the expense of our jobs and our wages and our safety and our environment. But anyway, if you're part of my Stop TPP call team, or if you're part of anyone who's been following my page, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I'm sure just the way I was hassling Jonathan Weissman and the way he got his information later, I'm sure people are just like, all right. I'm sure that bumped me up a notch in some list, whatever. But I just still did not know. I did not know until probably, let's just say, okay, I started out as an activist. I was an anti-nuclear activist. I was really scared after Fukushima, and I had friends that were sort of over in that area, and so I followed the story. I did it like a journal. Somehow famous people found my page, and I got hired by a whistleblower, and they wanted me to do research in their social media page. At this point, Occupy movement was going on, and I was still reporting about Occupy movement, but I don't even think my page was open to the public, and I only had a few friends. But through joining groups and my comments online and my constant posting, my name just somehow got out there. And so then I worked for about 6 months for this whistleblower, and we went up against Southern California Electric, and he was an expert witness, and they shut down San Onofre nuclear power plant, because of very gross safety violations that would have really, really hurt a lot of people if something had blown. So then from there, Occupy movement was a real education. We learned all sorts of things. The Anon groups were super fun, and they also educated people in poor crackers without attitude. Crackers with attitude was one of the little Anons that did, really funny posted videos. And if you guys out there are Anons, you know what I'm talking about. Poor Crackers just got busted. That's so horrible. It's so mean. He was just a kid, and he was just having fun. Anyway, Crackers, I love you. I just want to say that. Anyway, special shout out to Crackers. So, Anyway, we learned a lot through the Anons. We learned a lot, and Edward Snowden came out, and how these documents, all these whistleblowers, and it was just like, it was a total education. And I sat up morning, noon, and night and just watched all this stuff because, it's actually a very sad situation because my father was very sick and he was in and out of the hospital, and I was taking care of him, and I was also a landlord taking care of an apartment, and I had an unusual schedule, and I was always up late, and so I could have just sat there and wallowed in despair while I was watching my father slip away, or I could have just gone online and done something useful for the public. So I chose to try to use my intellect to help as much as I could to report and to inform myself while these very serious, tragic things were going on in my own personal life. So then we watched Aaron Swartz, and Aaron Swartz educated us about SOPA. We had the biggest online protest in history. I say we, and I mean like that's like everyone in the whole world. I didn't organize that, but I learned about it from the incredible, amazing work that Aaron Swartz did. And when Aaron Swartz ended up dying, it was very sad and serious, and I really took it to heart. And at a later date, when I found out SOPA was being reinserted into the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP, which is what I eventually organized against, I in my heart, I didn't even know how bad TPP was. There were so many things that were wrong with it, but in my heart, I was like, I'm doing this for Aaron. Like, this is wrong. We defeated this once. We're going to defeat it again. And this is like V for Vendetta for Aaron. So I just got on board, and as I was getting educated about it, I was horrified. I was just horrified because TPP was going to do all these things, and really quickly it was going to remove tariffs, which is going to make, sweatshop jobs and labor corner the market and really lower everyone else's quality of life. It was going to create ISDS tribunals, which I already addressed, which is like these offshore tribunals that could sue countries into overturning their laws, basically blackmail countries into overturning their laws and giving corporations, transnational corporations, payouts, and could, really bankrupt us and our countries. And it was going to add back SOPA that never passed in Congress under Aaron, when Aaron Swartz defeated it with the whole group. But the Stop Online Piracy Act is basically criminalizing sharing copyrighted content. Rather than making a civil suit, you would have to serve a jail sentence for pretty much posting everything that you post on social media. So then it also was going to remove Buy America, and every country has a version of Buy America, which basically means that you favor your country for services and contracts and people when you try to do government contracts. It's sort of a way to keep your economy flowing, even if you're not making as many products, which we certainly aren't after the horrible trade deal of NAFTA, are we? So anyway, they were going to remove Buy America with TPP, which means government contracts that normally would go to Americans were going to have to compete with people who were, performing sweatshop labor offshore, and it was going to be illegal to favor anyone in your own country. So that means, again, the standard was going to become sweatshop labor, products made by sweatshops, and that was going to thoroughly bankrupt our country on every level. It was going to bankrupt our workers, our small businesses. It was going to bankrupt even our government workers and our government contractors. And I don't know who was going to really be left except these horrible transnational corporations that had no allegiance to countries and just sort of rove around the Caribbean and go to prostitution dens or whatever the fuck they do. So it was a really bad situation. Anyway, this video's already gotten really long, but I just wanted to say that as I was going on and reporting, really bad things started happening. And as I've already said, people were stalking me, taking my picture, car damage was happening, break-ins were happening on 2 different coasts. People were approaching me and my family and causing a lot of sabotage-y actions that would result in us either having, bad experiences, negative experiences, our reputations were being harmed, what else? And then it got so bad that eventually teams of people sort of swarmed down on different family members and convinced elderly people to either give away assets, that they would have normally have left to their family members. They kind of, did almost they swindled these people. And then once I started realizing that, I tried to talk to my mom about it. She doesn't understand. She's elderly. She doesn't understand. She barely understands COINTELPRO, even though she kind of lived through it in the 60s in the church hearings, but like she's like a woman from the 50s that, and her father, like my grandfather, worked for the White House during a really what was considered back then one of the best eras, at least in the White House. I'm sure other people can nitpick it apart and say, oh God, no, FDR was horrible for this or that. But he still kind of was somebody that was celebrated for stopping Hitler and for, trying to do the New Deal and, all of these things that were celebrated. And so my mother is this like sort of 50s teenager at heart who still looked up to her dad and still looks up to that sort of rosy era where, the government's not all that bad and they do nice things, and like, she's not so naive now, like completely naive. Like she kind of gets that the new administrations are pretty shady, but I don't think she understands to what degree like the shadiness runs, and I don't think she understands at all technology, at all. And I think I was experiencing this kind of harassment. I mean, all my accounts were getting broken into. Like I said, my mail was disappearing. And then next thing you know, people are starting to trail me. And that's a whole nother interesting set of stories that I could just go on and on and on and on and on and on about. But basically, anything from random people showing up at different places, like the same person, and always trying to like ask me out, and then like saying weird stuff about my work online. I started getting I got a weird letter in the mail. It was sort of mimicking my stuff that I was doing online, like sort of said through the voice of like a crazy person. It was like taking things that were real in my life, but kind of lampooning them or kind of turning them into like a Jerry Springer show or something. Like making it sound like the person was like mentally ill, but like reacting like, the bankers are after me and I think that blah, blah, blah. And it was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. I'm reporting online about the bankers and Occupy Wall Street, and now I'm getting a cute little letter from some like person that's like exaggerating it and making it sound hysterical. And great, now I have to like tone it down and like deal with this. So anyway, but okay, so the kind of stalking that I experienced is most of it I can, produce some kind of documentation for it. Or it's just very straightforward stalking and damage. It's like kind of mafia stuff. There's talk about, like, I think later on there's going to be more talk from other activists about things like energy weapons, which I think are real because, like, the actual manufacturers that are making them are bragging about them on their web pages. And scientists who are part of the programs are coming out and talking about them. So, it's like the drone program. At first, people didn't really know what was going on, and now people are coming out and speaking about it. There's a lot to be uncovered. There's a lot to be uncovered in these worlds, but that's not been necessarily, to my knowledge, my experience. I've had very straightforward stalking and property damage and threats, and it graduated eventually to death threats, which, I'd like to really talk about it, and I've screamed about it on my Facebook page a lot, which my Facebook is connected to my Twitter page, so a lot of times you see, like, I know Facebook sucks and all the other activists give me a hard time about it, but it's the only place where I can like really write long with lots of links posts at this point. I know I'm going to be switching over to Steemit. Maybe I'll post this on Steemit. Let's say hi, this is my first Steemit. I'm Liz Mueller. I'm the cat memeologist. Okay, let me finish one thought at a time. I may be switching over to other platforms in addition, but Facebook is where I post normally, and then it goes over to Twitter, and a lot of times my Facebook posts get cut off, but I'm kind of a creature of habit, and I need to really like widen my horizons, and I get yelled at all the time by like not yelled at, but just like people give me a hard time. They're like, what are you doing with Facebook? I'm sorry. So, okay, I'm gonna make this my first steam-it. There's a hell of a lot more, and I'm sounding much more upbeat than I really feel about being stalked, because these groups, they got way out of control. They became like roaches, like coming out of every crevice, and I'm still dealing with them, as a matter of fact. And what they now are doing is, well, there's kind of a whole interesting story about it, which, again, oh my God, how long is this? I think I've been talking for a really long time, so I need to shut up. But there are a lot of other interesting stories, very serious stories. Highlights, they were coming to my work. They were trying to get me fired. They were doing weird things like mimicking. They were using trigger words, and then they would start the abuse. They would say creepy things about jobs that I'd either applied for or personal conversations that I'd have with other people. And they would try to make me fearful or, just kind of freaked out. Like, well, how would you know that? I just was having a private conversation online with somebody about that, or so I thought. Or, oh, maybe that's something I said in my house to a friend, or maybe, why? Then they got really sloppy and stupid, and they started doing stuff like, okay, here's a good example. They'd ask me questions. They'd cross-examine me. They'd always bring their phone in, their phone, and pretend to turn it off, probably. And then they'd put it right in my workstation. And it was like, what are all these people all of a sudden? Because I'd gone for a couple months where nobody did any of this kind of shit. And then all of a sudden, all these big, beefy dudes that look like they're like part of the military start showing up. And it's like, I want to talk about what I do for, well, I don't know. I've already said it. I probably already have. I'm a massage therapist. So like, I'm like, what? Why is, like, did the military just come to town? Okay, all right, I guess, I don't know, there's a platoon in town for, these next few months. And they got really sloppy, and they were like, it was pretty obvious they were probably videotaping me. And I could tell, because what they would do is they would do things like they'd ask me all these intricate questions. And they started asking me questions about, like, my travels, my background, my family, where they lived, like... And I'm like a small town girl, and you can see I'm kind of chatty, and I'm kind of, believe it or not, as much as I curse and as much as I'm upset about a lot of stuff, I'm actually pretty like amiable and just kind of like, oh yeah, I was just doing this yesterday, blah, blah, blah. So like, I thought these were sort of like casual questions, and I would just answer them here or there. And somebody asked me once, like, they always ask me, why did you become a massage therapist? Well, I did because I was a track runner. I was like number 5 in New Jersey, and I ran the 400 hurdles, the 400, and I did the high jump. And so I think I told someone, and then next thing I know, I start having all these clients, and they're doing like creepy stuff where they're like, did I ever tell you? And I'd be like, no, what? They'd be like, I used to run track. And it'd be like someone in their like 40s or 50s, and I'm just like, okay, interesting. And I'd be like, really? Oh, that's cool. And then they'd be like, you want to know what I did? And I'd be like, sure. And they'd be like, I used to run the 400 hurdles, and I did the high jump, and I'd be like, oh. And at first it was still kind of stupid. I was like, oh, wow, that sounds that's like what I did, like, I'm like, not, and they're probably like all pissed off because like I'm not even like playing, like they're like, no, she's supposed to be, they're probably internally thinking like, no, you're supposed to be freaked out. Why are you like agreeing with me? So, but like over time it became so repetitive because I was seeing so many clients that it was just like, okay, motherfuckers, I get it. Like they're coming in and they're like, where I used to, where I applied for work, and then they're mentioning the place where I just applied to work. Oh, well, I didn't take the job. Well, they're mentioning the reason I didn't take the job. Oh, you want to know why? And they're going on and on and on and doing this stuff. And then another guy came in. He's like asking me about, my family and these intricate questions, he's all creepy. Then he starts asking me if I know where the other Russians are. Well, hello, I'm not Russian, but he's trying to find some kind of connection between me and Russia, like over and over again. And then a lot of people are very interested in my travels to Australia from a long, long time ago. And, I'm a WikiLeaks supporter, and it seemed as though, or I had some other person that seemed to be a stalker in another situation, and she was like, are you someone who's in tech? Did you go to MIT? and then saying like all the same trigger words and weird stuff to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. You're like, you've seen my Facebook page. I get it. So, anyway, all I can say is that I'm not telling the story very well, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place, and I'm not indicating how serious it was. But these people graduate, because I started to be like, okay, first I was like, haha, really funny guys coming in and like buzzing me or whatever and giving me a hard time. So I was writing about it online. And then as it progressed, it got darker. It got to the point where people were coming in and being like, this is the best massage ever. And then going out and being like, this is the worst massage I ever had. And they were trying to get me fired. Then it got to the point where they were like, but like the place where I worked was it was so like, I don't know what to call it. They just didn't care necessarily about quality control. I don't know, in my opinion, I should say. And so they were just like, okay, get out. Like they didn't even like these people were trying to get me fired and being like, she was the worst massage ever. Some of them, and they just finally were just like, so what, get out. So it took, but they kept it up. They kept it up. And then it got scarier because I was working late at night and they were showing up in the parking lot and there were like cars waiting for me and then there were cars following me. And then my friend, I'd have to call him to like show up and sort of escort me where I was going. And then like the cars would like, pull on the highway with us. And then we'd like, we were in two different cars, and so I'd drop back and go behind the car so that like, they weren't behind us entirely. And then they'd get freaked out and they'd go off the exit, and then we'd go off like on a little country road in a totally different exit, and then the same car would like show up again and be like following us on a little back country road. And we were just having episodes like this. Like it was like a horrible like Hollywood movie. It was just like, really? Is this like from me social media? Like my social media stuff? And I didn't even, I was just starting to understand what was going on because I don't even know how it happened. I think one of the Anons like just dropped like a link and it happened to have something about the Internet Party that is a New Zealand political party that was founded by Kim.com, and there's a whole long story behind that too. But I just happened to stumble across this link, and she described being an activist, and she talked about being harassed, and she mentioned all these things, and she talked about even things could happen like water damage and things. And then I was like, And then what struck me was that she had done all the same activism that I had. She'd done Stop TPP work, Occupy Wall Street stuff, and then she was a supporter of WikiLeaks. And that really like kind of made me pause. And then I said, she's from another country. She's from New Zealand. This is a really cool thing that these people are doing anyway, so I just kind of want to be a part of this. I want to learn about it. And they were just getting, at least to my knowledge, just started with these like events. They're doing these anti-spy bill events, because they're trying to pass laws about spy agencies, stopping them from harassing people like us, or like me. But I didn't even understand that I was like fully a target. I was still just like, that sounds really familiar, And so I went and watched Susie Dawson's Person of Interest video, which really outlines in a very, very organized, better spoken, like, way than I am, because I'm an idiot in front of a camera. And it really highlighted and outlined the specific ways that these private security companies hassle activists and journalists. And after I watched that, I was like, okay, I'm not liking this. This is really, and I contacted her, and I didn't expect her to even respond because she's, kind of well known, and, she's part of a political party. I just didn't even know if she was going to respond to me, and she did. And she was really nice, and she believed me. And she said, you're probably being harassed. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, so then she's like, sometimes you just get isolated and you need support, and maybe, if you want to volunteer, you're welcome to. And I did. And the thing is that, like, here's the funny thing is that I'm not, like, full disclosure, I'm not, like, a super genius on the computer. I mean, I love you Anons, and I've known some Anons, and I think you're all amazing, and I wish I had those abilities, but, like, I'm like my claim to fame, the reason I call myself earlier a cat memeologist is that's the joke, is that I take very, very complicated topics that most people don't even, like the mainstream doesn't ever really hear about in the corporate news, And then I try to break it down into very simple language and create like cute little colorful cat memes to explain them to people that aren't normally activists or involved in political work. And I guess it was effective when we stopped, we're part of a group that stopped TPP. And so that's become my joke. It's a joke. I'm not like really truly obsessed with cats. It's just become like my whole group over time made it sort of a joke with me, because what happened was I was sharing all these really, really like in-depth, either boring or very depressing articles, and nobody was sharing them. And then I'd make these cute little cat memes, and oh my God, everyone's like, share, share, share. Oh, that's funny. Oh, you made fun of Obama. Ha ha, So I started calling myself a cat meme specialist. And then from there I went, and it's had many derivatives. I've become, the cat memeologist. I thought was funny. And I don't know if anyone else finds it funny. I find it funny. And for me to do this work every day, I have to amuse myself. And, that's one of the amazing things that I can't believe that, that I got targeted for is that, like, that's what my group was kind of known for. It was known for joking around and kind of being, very irreverent, but, I played music. I modeled it after the Occupy movement, and I tried to make it like fun and entertaining. And so, I made cartoons, I made cat memes, I made music, I joked around, I was sarcastic, I tried to make little stories about things. We tried to do little exciting actions, and even have like little contests, like what's the most interesting place that you can put a Stop TPP flyer, and they'd put it like under police car, like windshield wipers, which isn't even subversive, because like actually I would openly go, like I went down to the Philly police department and I told them all about it and how the unions were going to be destroyed if we let TPP pass, and they were like, yeah, let me have these, give me some more flyers. All right, we were like, they were, I didn't expect anybody. I didn't expect national security to be against what we were doing. I didn't expect anyone, police, or I even thought private sector. I really didn't think that the kind of work that we were doing was it was bipartisan, nonpartisan. It wasn't Democrat, Republican. It wasn't conservative, liberal. It was universal. It was universal workers versus the corporations. And in person, when I'd meet people, I even went to DEF CON in Black Hat and passed out thousands of flyers in like a matter of hours. And I talked to people probably even in national security, and nobody was like, there were only one or two, just a few people, maybe 4 max, that were really kind of like, whatever, I want TPP, and they were all bitchy. But like for the most part, everyone was very nice and thanked me for my work. And, that was my little, I don't want to say come online, but like that was my joke, that I would just kind of saunter up to these really important like business guys, like, men in suits that were probably in national security. And I'd just be like, lean on the table and be like, I have some information for you. And they'd be like, really? And I'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, well, are you with some group, or what do you do? And I'd be like, well, it's funny you should ask. They'd be like, intrigued. And I'd be like, I'm a cat meme specialist. And I'd say it with a straight face. And that wasn't easy to do. But then they would laugh. And then I'd be like, no, really, I'm passing out these flyers, and this is what it's for, and it's really important. Would you please look at it? We seriously do need everybody in our country to pay attention, and we can't have this. And, you've got to please, do whatever you can to influence and tell Congress that, like, we can't have this. And tell your families, tell unions, tell everyone. So, so I was going around telling people that I was a cat meme specialist. I started creating things like, cat, what was it? How can I even forget my own tagline? God, I'm just nervous and tired. But it would be like cat memeologist pick of the week, and it's like anything to do with cats. Like, I love cats. And the reason cats are so perfect is because there's a picture of a cat doing anything, anywhere, at any time. And so if you're organizing and you need a cat, it's like, I need a cat holding posters. Okay, there is one. I need a cat who is flying on a plane. Okay, there is one. I need a cat who is like really pissed off and is like saying, hey, don't do that. And, there's always a cat picture. So, okay, I made this probably a lot more cheerful and a lot more like upbeat than I really feel. I am definitely being stalked by some kind of organized group, and it has gone from property damage and break-ins and sort of, following and harassment and getting my picture taken, to very serious situation where elderly people in my family have been targeted. We've lost pretty much most of our money, with the exception of like one family member and maybe a few people who, who've retained their jobs. But there's been death threats. I have been attacked at work. I've had all sorts of stuff happen. And I guess I'll save that for another day because I need to get this video out, and I need to just send support to the other people who have been targeted, and let you know that I so appreciate all of you who have supported me, and I love you, Internet Party, and I don't want to cry. Thank you for saving my life. And Julian Assange was a target. I'm sure that they set him up with all of those false charges, and he's in that embassy, and they've cut him off now, and it's wrong what they're doing to him. And even if you don't like his political beliefs, or even if you're some in the military and you're mad that he's publishing whatever, he's a journalist, and that's what journalists do, and you shouldn't shoot the messenger, and you shouldn't attack him, and he's a good person. And we need people like him out there, or we're just going to be a lawless society. And you have to check yourself and understand that, journalists are being attacked, and it's unfair, and it's sick, and you need to stop it. Okay, so, see, now I'm crying. I don't want to cry. This isn't how I want to end my little video. It's been really hard. Okay, I got to shut up. Solidarity to everyone out there being targeted. And we're gonna expose these goddamn motherfuckers. Okay, profanity alert every time I open my mouth. I'm sorry. I'm a New York, New Jersey girl. I'm actually kind of quiet and polite when you actually meet me, but ultimately, if you're gonna threaten my life and threaten my family and threaten my property and bankrupt me and try to either make me so depressed that you're hoping that you can stage a murder and make it look like a suicide, I'm gonna get really angry and start calling you fucking cunts and sorry, I shouldn't say that. I'm gonna call you a lot of horrible names. Okay, so I'm not happy right now about the way we've been treated. Okay, so if you want to share this video, maybe just edit out that last sentence. Okay, bye everyone. I'll make another video later, and God, there was something else I wanted to say. I can't remember what it was. God, all I can say is don't look too closely. I am so tired and I just look horrible. I'm broken out, and this is the worst video ever. It's my debut video, yeah! Okay, so I will make more videos later, but I just wanted everyone to know that, yeah, I'm gonna speak out. I'm not gonna shut up about this. And I'm not suicidal, and I'm in good health, and I'm ready. I'm ready for a public inquiry about people being targeted for political reasons. Okay, thank you very much for listening to this video, and see you guys later. Thanks, bye.